Let's hear Swamiji now with good morning and then a brief talk by him.
Good morning. The secret of happiness is living in, but not for the moment, in the eternal now.
The more people act in this way to transmit the divine love to others, the more that love blesses them and expands to everybody. Impersonal love is divine love, and many people think that impersonal love means cold love, but it's not that at all. It's much more loving. Personal love, human love, is love with expectations. Instead of loving, it's thinking, what am I getting back? Loving for motives, loving this person because you'll get something from this person, loving this person because this person is your son or your wife or husband or whatever it might be, your friend. But to love everybody means to love as an instrument for the flow of divine love itself. To love everybody in an impersonal way does not mean an abstract way in the sense of cold or uninvolved or uninterested. It means to express to people the love of God Himself. This is the kind of love that saints express. When I have sat in the presence of great saints, I have felt overwhelmed with their love. And yet I knew there was not the thought in them, I am loving you. It isn't I love you. It's that I am in God's love, and God's love is incapable of not loving you. God's love is always there. God's love is always flowing outward to those who will receive it. It's a much deeper, much fuller, and much more. Why is it that people are so inspired when they come to saints? It's because they know that the saints don't want anything from them. They are interested only in what their needs are, what the devotees' needs are. Now this kind of divine love, as opposed to human love, is something that we can get gradually. You don't create a piece of jewelry by just mining the gold out of the earth. You have to beat it, you have to work it, you have to carve it. It takes a lot of time. And the same thing with divine love. It's something which we have to learn gradually on the anvil of human experience and of human suffering. Theoretically, we shouldn't have to suffer. Theoretically, being children of God, we should just be able to reclaim His love and go into Him. God certainly doesn't want us to suffer. But in actual fact, I don't think anybody's ever found God except through suffering. I don't mean suffering was the whole story, but it was always part of the story. It's as if through suffering we learn, just as the principle of tragedy softens the heart and makes the heart more ready to receive. It's less encrusted in its own ego. The result of tragedy is catharsis. You become cleansed. And what do you become cleansed of? Ego, selfishness, personal ambition. You begin to feel that, no, I'm not important. I'm just a part of something greater. People who have gone through tragedy and learned the lesson of tragedy, these people are people who are purified, people who are soft, people who are open to receive. And until you stop singing your own song and making a loud noise all the time and saying, listen to me, you won't be able to do the listening. We need to be able to offer what we do to God, but also to sit and listen for His answer. I have to say that the sufferings that I've gone through, and we've all gone through them, I'm certainly not going to say mine are greater than yours, but I do have to say this, that they have been the most spiritually important times of my life. They have been the times from which I have gained the most. And in a very real sense, I have to say that they are the things for which, the experiences for which, I am the most grateful. I'm happy for the good times, I'm happy for all the lovely associations and so on, but I'm grateful particularly for the lessons that I've learned. And those lessons have come through pain. The heart needs to be beaten in order to become soft enough to be able to let those walls around it tumble down and let the rays of God's light come in. The ego is a strong rock wall around yourself that protects that self from any pain, that says, no, you're not going, it's always defensive. You're not going to touch me. You're not going to hurt me. You're not going to take from me. You're not going to impose on me. You're not going to get ahead of me. All these things that the ego's always doing, and each one of them is a stone like that wall that we built out, that Brahm built out there. Each one is a stone set in cement and enclosing your whole heart. You need to have those beaten down. Suffering gives you the incentive. Under the impact of suffering, usually because it's something we don't choose, usually because it's something over which we have no control, because if we had any control, we would avoid it. And therefore, when it comes, we somehow aren't in that mode anymore of thinking, what can I do? Or we have to pass beyond that mode. And suffering, if it's big enough, brings us to that point where we feel ourselves totally helpless. And in that helplessness, we feel open. In that openness, we can receive the light and the grace. And it's that alone which can change us. You won't really change by constantly affirming with the ego, like Kuei, every day and in every way I'm getting better and better, and so on. Up to a certain point, yes, it'll help. But that will help much more, which opens you up to allowing God to love you. It's really with His love that you can learn to love.
Good morning again, friends. This is such an important topic and so wonderful to hear Swamiji's words on it. He wrote a wonderful song, "All the world is my friend when I learn how to share my love, when I lift up my hands and smile, when I live from above." And this is how we should live. When we go inside and we feel the joy and the love and the light and peace of God, then we share it with others. Our first friend is God, is Divine Mother. Master had that beautiful prayer that we say all the time, Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God. Divine Mother, the Heavenly Father is our friend and our closest friend. And then we too, we are their friends. I remember at the beginning of Ananda, the monastery was called Friends of God, that we have chosen to be the friends of God. God, it befriends us, but we also have to befriend God. Then beyond that, there are our Guru Bhais, our brothers and sisters in God. And so we are embraced, and we embrace our Guru Bhais as well. And then beyond there, of course, our family. And then the whole world, everyone around us. We try to take the energy of love that we have, as Swami Sri Yukteswarji said, you can't take one step on the spiritual path without opening the heart, without the natural love that is wanting to flow from you into others. And I remember when I first came to India, I'm a very open, friendly person, and American culture is that way. And when I would walk, I'd see someone who would walk by them. I would just never think of not saying anything. I said, oh, good morning, and oh, hello. And no one spoke to me, no one. There was always looking the other way or looking down or trying to raise a head. And I didn't really understand that. I mean, it felt like people were fearful. Who is this person? What does she want from me? And that's the way most people are in life. They're afraid to open. They're afraid to say hello. They're afraid to befriend others. And I'm not saying a personal friendship, a personal feeling. I'm saying something that's more impersonal. I remember when I lived in Italy, and I'm sure times are definitely changing now, but I lived there for 7 years, and the typical greeting there was kissing you on both cheeks. I went through that for a long time. When people kiss you on both cheeks every time they saw you. And that was pretty personal. And in America, everyone hugs you. And so you get to hug, hug, hug. And that was pretty personal as well. I was so happy to come to India and say namaskar. It was just such a wonderful feeling that my soul greets your soul. And this is what we mean, that in friendship and thinking of others, that our encouragement, our support, our energy, it should be uplifting our vibration, even if we don't say anything to a person, if we don't speak to them, but there should be a friendly, a warm vibration that's coming through, that's touching the hearts of everyone around. And this is what we saw in Swami Kriyanandaji. He was everyone's best friend. If you ask people at Ananda, who was your best friend? Swami Kriyananda. He was the most supportive, the most encouraging person I ever knew. And he was, I remember one time we were singing, and the singing group wasn't that good. This was years back in Italy. We would sing on the corners, street corners in front of the churches, and various places that we would sing. And I think there were about 6 or 8 of us in this group. And Swamiji was there. Many times he was there to listen to us and support us, really. And so I remember one time, it didn't sound very good. And so we asked him afterwards, so Swamiji, how was the music? And I mean, he could have said easily it didn't work, but he said, you looked like angels. And you just had to love that encouragement and support, that he was always there to give that to you. I remember another time there was a person who was a bit, he went to visit Swamiji for an interview, a counseling session, and he was a bit inebriated. And Swamiji knew the person had trouble drinking, and Swamiji just talked with him, just normal. And then he said later he could hear the person leaving, running into the bushes and the branches of the trees and stumbling around out back, and they finally made it out. And Swamiji said, I never said anything to him. I just prayed for him. And that's the thing. He was just always wanting the best for you. Wherever he went, he made friends. Here in India, when you go through the malls and purchase this or that or whatever, he was everyone's friend. He would talk to the chef at the restaurant. He would talk to the storekeeper. He was always thinking people first. At Ananda, it's people are more important than things. And there was a wonderful story that I love about Swamiji that really is something we should think about, because I think people in general always think of the cost. Is this, if I get this, is it going to be cheaper? I don't get it from him. I'll get it from this person because it's cheaper. It's always about the cost. But think about friends. There's no price to really a good friend. I remember my mom came to Ananda in America years back, and she said, gosh, if I had one friend like you have here, I'd be so happy. I said, Mom, it's a spiritual family. We all help each other. We're all friends. And so then Swamiji went to buy a comfortable chair for his home. And he went with someone. This was in Italy. And so they went to the store that they normally went to, because this man was Swamiji's friend. And so Swamiji liked a particular chair. He said, okay, well, let's get this chair. And the fellow who was with him, the Ananda fellow who came with him, he says, oh, well, Swamiji, this chair is a little bit expensive. let's check around. And Swamiji didn't really want to check around, but he said, oh, okay. So they went to another store, and there was the same chair. And the chair was, was a little bit less than the other chair. So the fellow who's with Swamiji says, oh, see, I told you, here's the same chair and it's less expensive. Let's get this one, Swamiji. And I think about this all the time. Swamiji said, no, but the other man is my friend. And so what is a little bit more if the other man is my friend? And the fellow who was with them, he learned a big lesson, that it's not always about money and price. It's about people. What do people need? What can I give? How can I help? How can I be encouraging? How can I be supportive? And the people who we're working with, the people who help us, our team that we're working with, the people who help us in our homes, how can we help them? How can I uplift their spirit? It's not, oh, you're beneath me, but my team is all under me and there's 300 people. No, it's how can we befriend and how can we uplift one's spirit? And this is what I think I learned almost the most from Swamiji, was how people are more important than things. And so, of course, they did go back and they got the other chair. And I remember another lovely, lovely experience with Swamiji that, sometimes, he wanted to do things and some of us, we would go, but we couldn't afford to do everything that he wanted to do. I mean, we go on a boat ride, we go for a restaurant, for dinner or whatever. And he was always like, just come, I'll take care of whatever you can't take care of. I'll take care of it. I just want to be with you. And it just was so touching. And I remember one time we went to a gallery and there was an artist that Swamiji really liked his artwork. And we went to the gallery and the artist was there. And then we were getting paintings for Ananda Village, for Crystal Hermitage, like the heart and soul, you could say, of Ananda. And Swamiji loved those paintings. He said, oh, God, this is so beautiful. And look at this one. They were all, beautiful gardens and sea scenes and flowers. And so we were just racing around looking at all the beautiful paintings. And he said, oh, let's get this one and let's get that one. And there were 6 or 8 of us. And then he said, but no, you all should get paintings too. And why don't you get a painting? And everyone was going, oh gosh, I don't know if I could afford a painting. So they said, no, everyone should get a painting. And so everyone went and they got what they could get. And I'll show you, my painting was about this size. It was this tiny painting because that's all I could get. And but Swamiji was so thrilled. These were the most beautiful paintings I've ever seen as well. So then he went around, oh, let me see your painting, and let me see your painting, let me see your painting. And Dhyana, let me see your painting. And I showed him the painting. He said, that's nothing. That's not a painting. You can't even see it. I said, Swamiji, I'll get a big frame for the painting. And he said, you can't buy that small thing. He said, get a real painting. And he said, just put in what you can and I'll do the rest. And he told everyone, get what you can. Pay what you can and I'll help you. And he was always, always, always thinking, how can I help you? How can I be a better friend? How can I share God's love and joy with you? And it was just very touching that way. I remember a boy who came over to Swamiji's house because when Swamiji was older, he had many troubles with his body. And this fellow, we knew of him. He worked at a local place and he did foot rubs and things like that. And so we asked him if he would come and give Swamiji a massage because Swamiji was just coming off the plane and, he was elderly. And so the fellow came, and it's a very touching story. And he gave Swamiji a massage. And Swamiji afterwards, he said, well, where's you don't even have a table. Where's your table? Because he had to massage Swamiji on the bed. And so he was bending down and, and it wasn't that comfortable, I'm sure. And Swamiji said, well, you don't have a table? And the fellow said, no, Swamiji, I can't really afford a table. And then Swamiji said, well, I'll get you a table. I mean, God, just think, he doesn't even know the guy. The guy who meets him the first time, he says, come back and tell me how much it's going to cost and I'll help you. And the fellow says, no, Swamiji, don't, please don't. I just won't be able to accept it. And Swamiji went on and on. No, if you're doing massage, you need a table. How are you going to do a massage without a table even? The guy had never had a table. And so he comes back the next time. He says, oh, Swamiji, I'm so sorry that, it's more expensive than I thought it would be, because he had given him a price at the beginning. And Swamiji said, I don't care what the price is. You need a table. I just loved it. His thing was not about the cost. And I think we have to learn that. Oh, how much is it going to cost? Oh, it's going to cost. Oh, I'm not going to get that because it costs too much. And Swamiji said, I'm getting the table. And he got that fellow the table. Honestly, he didn't know him. And one of our people was there when the little fellow left Swamiji's house. And he just said, he was an orphan. And he said, I have never known any parents. And I always wanted the love of a father. It's such a sweet story, isn't it? And he said, I got that from Swamiji. And it was just very moving how Swamiji he just could feel a person's heart and their soul. And as we befriend people, we have to feel, what is the need here? How can I uplift? How can I make someone happy? How can I support them in their time of trouble? What can I do? Instead of what about me? And I'll end with another beautiful story of one of the acharyas at Ananda. She passed away some decades back, but she was very deep, very sweet. Her name was Paula, and she had cancer. And so near the end, all of her friends, we would go to the hospital. This went on for at least a week or two. And we just went in the room. We just had the last days with her. We would meditate, we'd read from autobiography, we'd talk with her, we'd have sweets. She said, I don't have to worry about anything now, no dieting, and I can have as many sweets as I want. So we'd bring in chocolate and ice cream, and it was a going away celebration, really. It was so dear. But what touched me the most was when she got near the end there, she said, now I want to call people. I want to call everybody who I ever had a difficult time with. I ever had maybe an argument or some misunderstanding, or people who don't like me, or people I didn't like, or I want to call them. And I want to talk with them. And I want to tell them how much I love them and that I'm their friend. We just couldn't believe it. I mean, she could barely even by then talk. I said, I want to call them. And we were there for those calls when each person just said, oh, it's Paula. I'm leaving soon, but I want you to know that I love you and I'm your friend. It's beautiful. People have so many, I don't like that person, he mistreated me, she said the wrong thing, I'm never going there again, on and on and on. How is it going to be at the end of life? You're going to carry that into the next life and the next life and the next life and the next life? You have to be able to say, I let it all go because God's love and friendship is in me, and I give that to all. I had an experience where it was a tough thing for me. I could barely let go of a deep pain of someone, from someone, and it took me a long time. And at a certain point, I remember I could let it go. I could let it go. And I felt like I could just start levitating. I felt so much more energy. I felt so uplifted. And I just in my heart said, I forgive you. And I don't hang on to that anymore. In your life, look at your family, your relatives, your friends, whoever, and just let it go. And let God's love come through you to bless them, not curse them, not put people down, but say, I am your friend. I give you God's love. God bless you and have a wonderful day.